Hey, how you doing, everybody? We're on the air. I'm Rabbi Ron Abrams, coming to you live from Israel. Today is Wednesday, the 30th of August, 2017, and we got in the Hebrew calendar, it is the Ches Elul. It's the 8th day of Elul, month of Elul. Ani l'dodi v'dodi li. I am for my beloved, and my beloved is for me. It's talking about us and God, the love we have for one another. He loves us, and we love Him. But it's in the first person. Ani l'dodi. I am I am for my beloved. Ani l'dodi v'dodi li, and my beloved is for me. The name David is the same root word as Dodi, which means my beloved. In fact, many people, many Israelis with the name of David, which is David, they'll use the nickname Dudi or Dudu. Dudu. It always makes me laugh. Someone with the name Dudu. Dudu, hey, Makore Dudu. But yeah, there are people with the name Dudu. A lot of Israelis have that name Dudu. Now you'll laugh and you say, "Oh, what a strange name." Okay, there are strange names in English too, like Dick. You know, especially if he's a big guy. Hey, Big Dick, what's up, man? Big Dick, how you doing, dude? Hey. So, you want to make fun of people's names? You can do that in any language, I'm sure. Anyway, getting back, we're talking about names. So, anyway, I wanted to talk a little bit about the solar eclipse. And on my Facebook page, Ask the Rabbi Ron, I wrote about that according to the sages, the wisdom of our ancient sages, you know, that was a bad omen, and a week later, Hurricane Harvey. Okay, now, you know, it's interesting they give names to hurricanes, you know, whatever, but Hurricane Harvey will go down in the history. It's a historic storm. The city of Houston is flooded over. It's become like part of the bay. You know, the bay has basically moved into Houston. That's basically what happened. So, you know, the storm sucked the water up from the ocean and then moved into inland and dumped it over all that Houston area. Well, the coastal region around the Houston area. So, and then it went back out to sea. It went back out to the ocean, sucked up more humongous amounts of water, and then came back inland and is now dumping it again, as far as I can understand. And it could go on for a long time. Who knows what will stop the storm from just going back and forth? It dumps the water on the land. It goes back out to the ocean. It sucks up more water. It goes back to land and dumps it again. Who knows? For how long this can continue? I haven't seen any meteorologists, you know, saying that this is going to end. It's, you know, originally they said, as it was starting, they said, well, the worst comes to worst. They said they saw it was going to go back out to the ocean, and then, or back out into the bay, and then the Gulf, I'm sorry, and come back in. They saw that, you know. They saw it was going to come back in and make landfall again. And they say, well, Tuesday it'll be gone. It'll go up north. It was going to head northeast by Tuesday. It looks like it's Wednesday and it's still there. I don't know. Haven't seen the news today. And I'm always a little bit behind because I'm in Israel. We're 7 hours ahead of you guys. Well, if I'm talking to somebody back in the States, some of my friends in Philly, whoever's listening, or family, whatever. But I've got plenty of Israeli friends who listen too, so welcome aboard, everybody. So we're having a good time, but I wanted to tell you that the solar eclipse, you know, it did, according to the wisdom of our ancient sages, the solar eclipse represents a bad omen, and bad things can happen. And because I saw civil war brewing, I hope there's not a civil war, but it looks like there could be, especially with the, you know, it's all revolving around the Confederacy, tearing down these monuments, you know, just destroying these monuments of the Confederate heroes. So it does seem that civil war is in the air with all this hatred coming from the left, endorsing the Antifa violent anti-fascist, anti-fascist, quote unquote. You know, if they're anti-fascist, they're using fascist. They're using fascist strategy of violence, you know, and to shut down the free speech of their opponents, which they don't even call them opponents anymore. They call them their enemy. Trump supporters are the enemy, and Antifa is gonna beat the crap out of Trump supporters and put them in submission to stop them from coming out to their rallies. And they don't understand that that kind of tactic will only backfire, especially when you get pissed, when you get those people, or those Trump supporters, you get them pissed off. You get them pissed off. We see all these videos of Trump supporters getting bashed and beaten over the head, and urine spilled over their head from bottles, and spitting on them and beating them senseless. Crowds of these thugs dressed like black ninjas, organized to do destruction and violence against anyone who they deem to be a Trump supporter, who they deem to be a fascist, racist Nazi. And the left endorses it. You hear it from Maxine Waters, some kind of a black African-American congresswoman or senator, whatever she is. And she speaks. From the very first day that Trump got elected, I heard her speaking. Impeached. She was the first one to call for Trump's impeachment. I don't know what's going on. Is incredible. You look what the left, look what the left has done. They thought they were going to win the election. All of the leftist media, that biased leftist media, CNN, ABC, CBS, MSNBC, all of the leftist, the Washington Journal, the Washington Post, the New York Times, all of the leftist media, news media outlets, they all predicted that Trump was going to lose. And you know why? And all their polls said that Hillary was way ahead, that Trump didn't have a path to that magic number of electoral votes that he needed to win. Whatever it was, 270, the path to 270. In the end, he got like 301 or 306. You know, and they were all saying that Trump, and that's called suppression. That's called voter suppression. There's a word for that. When there's a propaganda blitz campaign is what it was. It was a propaganda blitz campaign to suppress the vote so that people who wanted to vote for Trump or even supported him would be afraid to say it. I mean, most people that I knew who supported Trump pre-election were afraid to say that they liked Trump because then all of their friends would call them crazy, nuts, and racists. And that's what was happening before the election. And then when she won, and then when she lost and Trump won, they couldn't believe it. They were in a state of shock. Well, why were they in such a state of shock? You know why? Because they believed the media. They believed the lies of the media, because the media was suppressing the vote. Their polls were falsified. They were fake polls, giving fake news, giving the people a fake deception of perception that Hillary was way ahead. In fact, I even saw a Time magazine that was all ready to crown the queen, to break that glass ceiling. And she had that blue wall that Trump couldn't take down. And Trump smashed the blue wall to smithereens. He went right through the blue wall. He went over it, around it, under it, through it. The blue wall didn't hold up. And you know why? You know why? It's very easy to understand. Okay? It's very easy to understand. It's all based on one saying that my father taught me. Okay? And this saying is in the wisdom of our sages, in the wisdom of our ancient Jewish sages, where it says, Tafasta meruba lo tafasta. Tafasta meruba lo tafasta. That literally translates as, when you grab for too much, you end up with nothing. And my father taught it to me like this. When you get greedy, you get needy. And the left and the right, the establishment, look, these politicians, it's George Carlin taught us that years ago back in the 70s. George Carlin in the late 60s and 70s taught me the truth about government. That it's the billionaire corporate owners who donate the money to these special interest groups and these lobbyists. They give them money, and then these lobbyists, they donate money to the campaign of politicians. And then when they want something done or not done, or passed or not passed, then the politician is beholden to the donors, to the donor class, and that the real owners of the country are not the people. It's not the government of the people, for the people, and by the people. No, that's long gone. The government has been run for I don't know how long, since I've been alive on planet Earth, born in Philadelphia, PA in 1959. Since I've been around, I was a precocious kid and I understood what I saw JFK. I remember his funeral when I was 4 years old. I loved RFK when I was 7 years old. Watched this campaign, and then in 1968, when I was just 9 years old, I remember when he was assassinated, and that hurt me, and that stuck with me all my life. And Martin Luther King, and when he was assassinated, because his dream was my dream, and that dream shall never die. And therefore, I'm an outside observer. I moved to Israel in 1982 because my people in Israel, they needed me. But I'm a proud American. I'm a proud American. I'm proud to be a native son of Philadelphia, the city of brotherly love, the city of the Liberty Bell. But the Liberty Bell is cracked. And it always bothered me. Always bothered me. Every kid in Philadelphia went on a class trip to see the Liberty Bell. And when I saw that crack in that Liberty Bell, I said, what does that crack symbolize? A crack in a bell. You know, if there's a crack in a bell, as far as I know, the bell can't be rung. And the Liberty Bell is the bell of liberty. It's the bell that you ring. It's the bell of liberty. It's the bell of freedom. When you announce, you want to proclaim liberty and freedom throughout the land, you ring the bell of liberty. And that bell, its home, its permanent home is in my hometown of Philadelphia, PA. The city of brotherly love. The city where William Penn looks over that city. The spirit of William Penn looks over my city. And my city is supposed to be the city of brotherly love. And nowadays, in our progressive times, you would have to say brotherly / sisterly love. But there's no need for that. Because the people who were God-fearing always respected their women. Always. The women always were held high in religious homes, as far as I can see growing up in that city. What has our city become? Divided between the left and the right. Sorry to tell you, people on the left, but the people on the right happen to be right this time. Not all of them. You got that alt-right thing, go fuck themselves for all I care. They're fucking Nazis, they're racists. Those people on the alt-right, they just happen to be on the right. But the people on the right denounce those racists, those Nazis, those neo-Nazis. And we hate them as much as anybody on the left hates them, if not more. My father's a survivor from Nazi Germany. So don't you go telling me about neo-Nazis and white supremacists. Trump's a good guy. He's not a racist. And neither am I. And I support Trump. And I hope you can come around, because there's nothing wrong with Trump. His daughter became Jewish, married an Orthodox Jew. What don't you like about it? Oh, you just don't like them. You don't even know why. They're the perfect American family who live the American dream. Nah, but you don't like them. Why don't you like them? You know why? Because CNN doesn't like them. That's why. And NBC doesn't like them. You know why? Because the corporate owners of these news media networks are owned by people who have bought the politicians and get their way. And Trump self-funded his campaign, not wanting to be beholden to any billionaire who runs these politicians. Because if he's going to change America, to make it great again, to bring back jobs, to build the military, to put a wall to stop illegal immigration, to stop the jihadis from infiltrating our country, and to stop the domestic terrorism, whether from jihadi domestic terrorism or Antifa or MS-13, to stop the crime. Who's going to stop the crime? How many people have to die in the streets of Chicago and the inner cities and all over our good country? And how many terrorist attacks? Do we have to wait for 9/11 to happen again? Do we have to wait for another 9/11 till we realize that Trump is right, that he makes sense, that our country has been drained by the lobbyists, by foreign interests who moved our manufacturing companies to foreign countries, so our middle class has been drained of their wealth? Oh, sure, go to Walmart and buy anything you want for cheap, but you don't have a job. We're going to get the money to walk into Walmart and buy the cheap shit from China. All those jobs, all those manufacturing, where are all our man? When I was back in Philly in 2008, I was working with my brother a couple days a week. Okay, my brother is a trucker. Okay, he's an owner-operator. And my brother goes to Delaware twice a week. And every week we went to Delaware and we drove by this GM manufacturing plant. And in that GM manufacturing plant, they were producing fancy sports cars. That's what they, in the front of the building, where the executive offices were, they had like two fancy, sports cars that's what they were manufacturing there. And every week we went by and it was doing great. The parking lot was filled to capacity. And then week by week, the parking lot started emptying out. And my brother tells me, he says, you see, they're closing down that plant. Week by week, the parking lot emptied out until finally there was no cars left in the parking lot because that plant had closed down, and I watched it close down. And that was in 2008. Bush was no better. He was also bought by these billionaire donors. That's why the Bushes were anti-Trump. And Mitt Romney was also anti-Trump for the same reason. All these career politicians. Oh yeah, Mitt Romney was a billionaire too, but he was bought by the politicians. He's as phony as he called Trump as phony as one of his degrees from Trump University. Well, he's phonier than a degree from Trump University. He's way phonier. You can't see everything about Mitt Romney. Just look at how he's so stiff and how he is so measured and how he speaks in such, professional, phony terms. I've seen these big businessmen. I grew up in a business. I know the owners of companies, and believe me, I see right through them. Some of them are good guys. Some of them are nice guys. But some of them are assholes, and all they care about is just greed. Give me more, give me more. That's all they want. And these people that have been running, listen to George Carlin. He said it back in the 70s. He told us who's running the country, and it's clear that's what's been going on. Anybody knows that does a little bit of research. Where the money comes from to all these billions of dollars that these politicians spend on their PACs and their super PACs. Look how much money Hillary Clinton, her super PAC had, like, $2 billion, $1 billion, $1.5 billion. Look how much money. And all the negative ads she took on Trump. Oh my God, I'm so happy I wasn't there to have to listen to all those ads. Oh, I was there in 2008 when Obama got elected. All those ads. Oh God. Oh, who do you want? You know, waking up in the middle of the night at 3 o'clock when they get that call. Ooh, oh yeah. Who do you want? Okay, but anyway, I don't want to get all involved in the campaign. But look what happened. Hillary lost, Trump won. It was totally, the people on the left went in shock. You see people on these news networks like crying and in shock. And they were actually crying with tears. They were so upset. They went into a shock. They went into shock and they went into a state of denial that they haven't yet recovered from. And because all of the lies that they were telling during the campaign before the election, all those lies about Russian collusion and all those lies how Trump is a loose cannon and all those lies how Trump is a racist and a sexist and a misogynist, all those lies, they started to believe those lies. They started to believe those lies. And then when Trump gets in there, he's gonna take over, he's gonna become like another Hitler. They actually believe this bullshit. And and at first when the election was over, so Hillary said, no, recount. It must have been, they counted the votes wrong. They had to have to spend all that money on recount. And then after the recount didn't work, in fact, I think I remember on the news saying that Trump actually gained more votes in certain places as a result of the recount. So then, oh, even before that, how about before the election, after the election was finished, and now we're waiting for the Electoral College to make their final votes. The electoral people have to make their votes. And guess what? Whoever heard, I never heard of this, that an electoral person who was sent from a state to vote for the Republican nominee can actually say, oh, I don't have to. I can vote for the Democratic nominee if I want. And whoever heard of that? I never even heard of that. But all of a sudden that became a big deal. And you see Hillary's clan trying to pay off these people, the Electoral College, take them out to big expensive dinners and tell them, no, you can't do this. It's bad for our country. Where's your conscience? Vote your conscience, man. Vote your conscience, man. You can't let this animal, monster, buffoon with a red foxtail on his head. You can't let that orange orangutan become the next president of the United States. You have to change your vote. You cannot vote Republican. You have to vote for the Democratic nominee. Vote for Hillary. You have to do that. And I think there was even 1 or 2 electoral, or 3, or a few, that actually did do that. They switched over. And Trump still won by a landslide, the Electoral College. And then they started saying, well, Hillary won the popular vote. So the majority of Americans wanted Hillary. They didn't even want Trump. The Electoral College, we got to change that law. They've said that every time. Whenever the Electoral College doesn't work for them, they always say they have to change it. That's what they always do that. Oh, because, oh, but she got the popular vote. And then they went on popular vote. It was because of Comey, and it was because of the Russian collusion, it was because of Wikipedia, and it was because of 1,000,001 things. And all the tactics that they use to bring that Khan, that gold star parent of the Muslims officer, army officer who was killed in action, and have him at the DNC convention take out the Constitution and say, Trump, say Mr. Trump, Donald Trump, have you ever read this book? You can have my copy. You attack Trump. What do you expect him to be silent? Of course you had to attack him back, but no. They totally ignored the fact that he provoked Trump first, and Trump had to react, had to respond, had to defend his honor. He's a man who stands up for his own honor if you attack him personally. Oh, nonstop. So then, okay, so they went on from one excuse after another, one technique, one strategy after another to delegitimize Trump, to vilify Trump, to demonize Trump. And where has it gotten? They're using the same strategy that made them lose the election in the first place. It's Greed is the source of their problem. And the American people got fed up. You know? We watched our nation, especially with Obamacare. Obamacare, I think, was the final straw for most people. I think it was Obamacare that made Hillary lose the election. You know why? Because Trump kept on focusing at his rallies on Obamacare. And they kept on getting new official reports that the premiums of health insurance were going up. In fact, I remember Trump saying at his rallies that in Arizona, and on Fox News they were saying it, that in Arizona the premiums of health insurance under Obamacare is now up 117% in Arizona. And then you hear more reports, and you go on. I listen to CNN and the other news stations too, and they're reporting the same thing because they couldn't deny it. It was the official report; they had to report it. And the Obamacare was a disaster. Trump kept saying the Obamacare was a disaster. Trump knows how to sell. He knows how to sell his agenda, and it made sense to me. And I heard from my parents that Obamacare wasn't good for them. And I saw eyewitness reports interviewing people that Obamacare wasn't working for them all over the country. Insurance companies leaving. We heard it many times before. And it makes sense to me. You know why? Because I live in Israel. Israel is a small country of 8 million people. So in small countries like Israel, Denmark, and these European countries which are relatively tiny compared to the United States of 50 states and 324 million people, right? To have a federal run health insurance system cannot work. It cannot work. Especially if you force people to buy it and make them pay a penalty for not buying it. So it was an overreach. You know, it's enough to have the federal government running the healthcare, but to make a law and say that if you don't buy the health insurance, you will be penalized. You have to pay a fine, a penalty, which goes to the American government. They can't afford it. That's why they don't want to buy the healthcare. They're healthy. They don't want to buy it. They can't afford it. They need that money. And you take away their money because they refuse to spend the money that they don't want on your forced, coerced health insurance. So that's overreach. That's overreach. That's getting greedy. And then you get needy. And people get fed up. Socialism doesn't work. That's socialism. And you see, the American people don't want socialism. And now we see the left with their Antifa. They're socialists and they're communists. And they're shutting down the free speech using violence. Okay, this is socialism. That's what happens with socialism. Look at Venezuela. Socialism, does it work? Socialism doesn't work. You know, Israel started out with a lot of Jews from Russia who believed in socialism. That's what the kibbutz was socialism. And Israel realized that socialism isn't good. You know why the socialism? I'll tell you why socialism isn't good. Because for the system to work, you need honest people in charge of the funds. And if the people in charge of the money are not honest people, but rather corrupt people, then you get a Venezuela. It's very simple. It's very simple. And because we don't trust government officials to be honest, socialism cannot work. Judges aren't honest. What do you think? A person became a judge, he's honest? These judges have biases. It's obvious. It's obvious that judges have their bias. Judges are leftists and judges are rightists. And that's why the Supreme Court justice now is a right wing, and that's one of the things that the Democrats can't stand either. For the next who knows how long, for the next 50 years at least, the Supreme Court is going to be a majority conservative, and they don't like that. See, I'm not a conservative. I was always a liberal. Always. I was raised, my heroes were Robert F. Kennedy, Robert Francis Kennedy, and Martin Luther King Jr., Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Those were my heroes. They inspired me. But the liberals that I grew up, those liberals, when RFK and MLK were assassinated, the torch of freedom which they struggled to hold high for the masses, to make life better for those downtrodden people, whether black or white. That torch was laid down when we buried RFK. That torch was laid down to the ground when we buried MLK. But now that torch has been raised high again by Donald Trump. I believe in my heart of hearts that Donald Trump was called by the Almighty God himself, the creator of the universe, put it in Donald Trump's heart to put an end to the corruption, to stand up and make America what it used to be before the corrupt corporate billionaires took it over and ruined it. So Donald Trump is a billionaire. He's got a lot of billionaire friends, but you know what? He was never part. He always felt, I did a lot of research on Donald Trump, okay? He never felt part of the billionaire class. He always identified with the working people. Yeah, sure, he even says, I was greedy. I am greedy. I love money. Give me more, more, more. He loves making deals. That's all he does. Make deals, make more money, more money, more money. And if you're not careful, take advantage of you. So he gets the good deal, you get the bad deal. If he can get that, and he even says that. Look, he says, I respect China. I respect Mexico because they made good deals for themselves and it's a bad deal for Americans. Our stupid, incompetent politicians who have been bought by these corporate billionaires, they're making the bad, he would say, either they're incompetent, these politicians making these deals, the Iranian deal, either they're incompetent, these Obama, this Kerry, and the Hillary Clinton, either these people are so stupid and incompetent that they make stupid deals for our country, or maybe they're not that stupid, because I don't think Obama's stupid, I don't think Hillary's stupid, and I don't think Kerry's stupid, maybe. But these people have all of these donors who give them money that they are beholden to. So that's why they make bad deals for us and good deals for them. For Mexico, it's a good deal. For Canada, it's a good deal. TPP is a great deal for all the other countries, not for us. For India, it's good for India, it's good for China. Yeah, the Paris Accords, it was good for China and India. It wasn't good for us. For us, we foot the bill for the whole world. And our people, our country has become a third world country, man. The ghettos got even worse. I thought the ghettos, I grew up in the inner city. I grew up in Northeast Philly, but my father's business was in the inner cities. I spent a lot of time in my youth growing up in the inner cities of Philadelphia. I was once attacked on the Broad Street subway. I went to Temple U in the middle of